In December 1999, she suddenly appeared in my house. In the evening, my dad called me downstairs, but when I was about to go down, he was standing at the end of the stairs and reached out his hand to stop me. His eyes looked something nervous, and I felt that something was wrong. "You have to keep in mind what I'm saying now," my dad said. "You're going to see someone in our house. Just focus on me. Don't be as conscious of her as you can." I almost burst into laughter. I was 12 years old and I took the situation as a joke from him. However, he continued talking before I could answer. "She's going to whisper something and she's going to do everything to follow you or get your attention. It's going to be really hard to ignore. But son, you must never mix words with her for any reason. If you pretend she doesn't exist, she'll leave here. Will you do that?" Countless questions passed through my head, but I answered my dad, "Okay," since I was scared at the time. "Okay, it's time for dinner. Let's go downstairs. What I told you about her made her stronger, but this is the only way I have. I just wanted to avoid you running into her by accident. Trust me. Now focus." I followed him downstairs slowly, focusing only on him, heading to the kitchen as he said. The downstairs had a cool atmosphere, as if the temperature had dropped sharply, and smelled sour. A raccoon once died in the wall of my house, and it smelled so bad that it kept going inside for a while. My dad and I sat at the table at the same time. My sister was sitting across from me, looking down at the empty plate in front of her, and my mom was taking food out of the oven, and I could see the signs of crying around her eyes. Well, I tried to concentrate on my family, but then I noticed something gray-skinned with black hair standing at the corner of the room. The atmosphere of the kitchen was subdued, and there was no laughter or warmth that could be seen in our kitchen as usual. My sister grabbed my knee under the table and whispered, "Do you see her too?" I nodded quietly. "Be quiet," my dad said threateningly. Then the woman approached with a soggy sound of footsteps, and I could smell a terrible stench from her. She walked slowly toward the table and stopped right behind my sister. Then she stood close to my sister and put her dried, skinny hand on her shoulders. My sister crouched down and looked at me, and I lowered my head hurriedly. Mom forced herself to act as if everything was okay as she prepared dinner. Under the table, I could see my dad was holding her hand tightly so that she wouldn't go crazy. My sister had to keep those unpleasant, skinny hands on her shoulders all evening, and only an incomprehensible whisper from the woman's mouth filled the kitchen. We lived like that for months, trying our best to pretend nothing happened. During this hellish time, my parents didn't invite any guests to our house and didn't allow us to go to our friend's house. When we were talking about her, we could whisper to each other as long as she wasn't too close. My dad asked me to not tell anyone about her, and that was how to isolate this woman. We made a conclusion that she seems invisible to others until they know about her existence. A few years later, I found out that my dad was the one who brought her in. In the 70s, my aunt ran into her for some reason, and since then she seems to have followed my aunt and lived together. And in 1999, this time, my dad couldn't get rid of his thoughts about her for some reason. Then she followed him. We tried to remain not telling about her, and this was the most difficult thing in our lives. She was with us when we left home or were in the car. We couldn't act separately. It was the hardest time for my mom, who had to be home alone after we went to school and my dad went to work. One snowy night in February, we had dinner and my mom went up to bed a little early, and the woman was sitting on my parents' bed. Unfortunately, my mom couldn't take it any longer. I heard my mom screaming in the bedroom, "Please, leave my family alone!" Dad's face turned deadly pale with fear and jumped up to stop her, and that was the last time I saw her. The woman was still there, but Mom disappeared forever, and the pool of blood on the white carpet was all that was left. For weeks, the woman whispered to me, "I'll let you see your mother again. So just ask me what to do." However, I never did that. The reason I'm telling you about this story is because I want you to think about her. For the first time in 18 years, I saw her again this morning. I don't want to lose my wife or put my children in the same danger. I want you to imagine she's in your house. Then she'll leave me alone, maybe. Now you're already involved, and someday she will visit your house. You should never be conscious of her. It's the only way for you. I am really sorry for you.
I don't have any friends. Not only boyfriends, but also the girls too. I'm tired of putting my energy into hanging out with others. Maybe lack of socializing. So that's why I like to see movies. It's because I can just look at the screen. I go to the movie theater every weekend. Sometimes I go to a big theater, like Multiplex, but I also go to a small theater for independent films. I can say that it is a happiness to sit in a quiet seat with a few people. One weekend, I went to the movie theater as usual. I was waiting for the ticket and a man wearing sunglasses talked to me. He was a man and a stranger, so I stepped back, expressing caution. But he said with a bright face, "Excuse me, I'm the director who shot this movie. Could you tell me how you feel after watching it?" "What? Oh, okay, sure." It was so sudden, so I was in a panic at first, because I don't usually talk to a man, and he is a director? No way! I was fascinated by his smile, and I could feel my face turning red. The movie I watched that day was kind of a B-horror movie. The story is about a woman who is the main character being kidnapped by a man and imprisoned in a secret room without any windows. To tell the truth, the movie was not that good. I don't like the hard gore scene. However, I kept thinking about what to say to the man, reminding his smile. I stood up after the movie. When I came out, the man was looking this way with a smooth smile. After much thinking, I tried to say a word to talk about it, and he talked to me first. "You know, there's my office around here. Could you tell me about the reviews and do a survey for me for my next work? I'm worried about it in many ways since this is my debut film. Of course, it wouldn't take long and I'd like to give a reward to you for helping me." He happily talked about the behind stories when he made the movie. We started to have a conversation while he guided me to the building, a little away from the movie theater. As the elevator was going up to the 20th floor, he asked me shyly, "How was my movie anyway?" I was embarrassed to hear the answer because there were so many people there, but no one here, so you can tell me honestly. I replied, "It's a simple horror story, but I liked it because it was rather straightforward." "Well, the story is about a woman eventually dying in a secret room. I'm just curious about your intentions. What exact message did you want to deliver?" The elevator door opened just in time, and the man didn't answer. He took me to the door with a soft smile. The name of the production company was printed on the door. He opened the door and led me into the office. The office was completely dark, and the room was covered with curtains even though it was the middle of the daytime. When I turned around, he was leaning against the door with his body and talking on the phone. "Oh, I'm sorry. I got a call regarding my work. Please wait for a moment," he spoke to me in a whisper. I looked around the room again. There is no furniture in the office, just a desk and a few chairs. Strangely, I couldn't even see the kitchen or bathroom. It was just one studio. Come to think of it, it was strangely familiar, although it was my first time visiting there. I thought I'd open the window, so I approached the window. However, when I pulled the curtain, there was a wall behind it. I turned around and looked at the man. With the friendly smile he showed at first, he went to the front door and closed the door quietly. I dropped the bag in my hand. I could see there was no handle inside the front door. That was when I remembered. Now I knew why this room looked familiar.